Heartwarming moment. Millionaire exposed incredible truth behind little girl's scolding a life. In the quiet town of Maplewood, when the sun dipped low behind the trees, Sarah trudged home from her shift at the diner, her body heavy with fatigue. The aroma of greasy burgers clung to her clothes, but it was the thought of her spirited daughter, Lily, that kept her going. 8 years old, with wild curls and a laugh that could light up the darkest of days, Lily was the reason Sarah endured long hours at multiple jobs. She was Sarah's heartbeat, her reason to rise each day. But on this day, something was off. Inside their small, worn-out house, Sarah found Lily's backpack tossed aside, indicating trouble had brewed while she was away. As she pulled off her shoes, Sarah's heart sank. She noticed Lily sitting on the floor, tears staining her cheek. The weariness of the day suddenly crashed down on her like a ton of bricks. In an instinct of frustration and exhaustion, Sarah scolded her sharply. "Why can't you just behave? It's like you don't care how hard I work." The words, harsh and unyielding, sent Lily into a spiral of despair, huddling into herself, feeling more like a burden than the joy she thought she was. Across town, Steve, a millionaire who once called Maplewood home, was back for a charity gala meant to uplift the community he left behind. As he walked along the familiar streets, nostalgia hit harder than he expected. Memories of his childhood flooded back, but nothing prepared him for the heart-wrenching scene unfolding just a few doors down. He saw Sarah, frazzled and worn, and Lily, crumpled in sorrow. The raw complexity between them tugged at Steve's heartstrings. In that moment, a flicker of compassion ignited deep within him. He felt an urge to step in, to help, yet how? He was a man of means and privilege, and they were struggling with burdens he once knew but had long escaped. Without revealing himself, he began to find ways to support them. Secret notes left for Lily sparked her creativity and passion for art, reminding her of the vibrant girl she once was. He watched from the shadows, his heart swelling with hope as her spirit rekindled. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue, but as Sarah struggled under the weight of her circumstances, Steve grappled with revealing his wealth. Would it lift them from their woes or crush Sarah's pride? The echo of his own past, the hardships he faced growing up, haunted him. The tension rose as dark clouds loomed over potential futures that seemed impossible. Both Sarah and Steve were caught in a delicate dance, a heart-pounding moment looming where everything could change. Would Sarah accept the help she desperately needed, or would pride separate them forever? The door to understanding and forgiveness was ajar, and the world watched, holding its breath, yearning for the moment when they might step through together. The morning sun filtered through the kitchen window, revealing the chaos of the previous night. Dishes piled high in the sink, remnants of a hurried dinner. The kitchen still smelled faintly of burnt toast. Sarah leaned over the counter, head cradled in her hands. The weight of her words to Lily echoed in her mind, a painful reminder of how easily frustration could spill over. Meanwhile, Lily sat at the small table, crayons strewn around her, a blank piece of paper before her. The spark that had been ignited by those secret notes had dwindled, but the glimmers of hope remained. She pressed the crayon to the paper, letting it glide, but with each stroke, her thoughts returned to her mother's words. Did she really not care? The innocence of a child was now burdened with guilt. A soft knock on the door startled Sarah. It was Mrs. Johnson, the kind elderly neighbor with a casserole dish in hand. "I thought you might need this," she said, her voice warm and familiar. Sarah forced a smile, but Mrs. Johnson's eyes were sharp. "You have to remember, dear, you're not in this alone." "Thank you, really," Sarah replied, guilt pooling in her stomach. She couldn't shake the feeling that help would mean admitting she was struggling. As Mrs. Johnson left, A tiny voice interrupted her thoughts. "Mom?" Lily's voice trembled, the paper in front of her well on its way to becoming an abstract mess. Crouching down to Lily's level, Sarah's heart broke at the sight of her daughter's glossy eyes. "I'm sorry I yelled at you," she whispered. I was tired." "That's no excuse." Lily sniffled, her small face scrunching up. "I didn't mean to get in trouble. I just wanted to draw." Her small fingers pointed to the chaotic scribbles. "I know. You're really good at it," Sarah said, seeking to bridge the distance her outburst had created. "I should be listened." But deep down, Sarah knew their lives would become even more complicated if she didn't find a way to stop struggling alone. The fear of judgment loomed large, like an unapproachable wall. Across town, Steve had settled into the familiarity of his childhood home, yet his thoughts remained divided. The echo of laughter and the sight of children playing outside his window made him yearn for connections he hadn't appreciated before. His heart felt heavy with the realization that wealth alone wouldn't fill the void of his loneliness. He had been contemplating how to reach out, a plan brewing in his mind. There was no doubt he admired Sarah's strength, but he saw the cracks forming beneath the surface. It was time to make a real effort, not just in secret gestures, but to offer tangible support. As evening fell, the shadow of uncertainty hung over both homes. Sarah looked around her small kitchen, a flicker of resolve igniting within her. Perhaps, just maybe, when she took that leap of faith and showed vulnerability, it could lead to a deeper sense of community. On the other side, Steve stood at his window, peering out into the dusk. He knew the next step would change everything, not just for him but for Sarah and Lily as well. But as they both pondered their next moves, one question lingered in the air: what would happen when the barriers they had built began to slip away? Could hope bridge the gap between their worlds when the truth was finally revealed? As twilight enveloped the neighborhood, Sarah cleared away the remnants of Mrs. Johnson's casserole. The warmth emanating from the dish felt comforting, but it only momentarily dulled the ache in her chest. She cast a glance at Lily, still lost in her drawing. The chaos of colors on paper seemed to mirror the turmoil in Sarah's heart. "Hey, sweet pea," Sarah said, her tone softer. "How about we take a break from that? Maybe find something fun to do." Lily's face lit up a bit, but then she hesitated. "You mean like play? I thought you didn't want to play with me." The word struck Sarah like a punch. I didn't mean it like that," she stammered. "I was just overwhelmed. Let us grab a game. What do you think?" Lily sighed, a mix of yearning and uncertainty reflected in her big eyes. Okay, they spent the next hour picking through the small collection of games in the living room. Lily knelt on the floor, her fingers brushing against the edges of a well-worn board, while Sarah sat cross-legged beside her. Something shifted as laughter slowly began to emerge from their playful banter. An occasional sigh escaped Sarah's lips as they argued over the rules, but it was a relief, a connection re-established. Meanwhile, Steve's mind raced with memories of simpler-time Sunday dinners, playing catch with his dad, laughter that echoed off the walls of his childhood home. He picked up his phone, scrolling past texts that felt distant. A part of him wanted to ignore the urge to reach out, but something kept nudging him forward. He had driven past Sarah's house earlier, seeing the shadows play through the kitchen window. The sight had awoken a genuine concern within him. He wanted to help her, not just because he had the means, but because he felt an unyielding connection to her struggles. Just then, he noticed his niece's drawing taped to his fridge, a scribble of colors, her representation of family. The faces, though misshapen and unfinished, radiated joy. In that moment, he realized he wanted to become part of someone's story again, to offer the kind of support he once took for granted. With purpose, Steve grabbed his keys and stepped out into the cool evening air. He didn't want to simply offer superficial help. He wanted to be present, to be real. Sarah and Lily's laughter floated to him as he heard them through the open window. It cut through the quietness, inviting yet bittersweet. He felt drawn to that warmth. Maybe showing up, really showing up in the lives of others, was the best way to rediscover himself. He parked his car in front of their house, taking a moment to steady his breath. As he approached the door, he questioned if this sudden impulse was wise. Could he truly be that support? Before he even had a chance to knock, the door swung open, and there was Sarah, surprise lighting up her features despite a lingering hint of wariness. "Steve?" she asked, lips parting slightly. "Hey, I thought I might stop by," he started, holding on to the optimistic feeling blossoming within him. I have an idea that could help. What he didn't expect was to see the unspoken gratitude in her eyes, an acknowledgement that she too was ready for a change. But before he could continue, a small voice piped up from behind Sarah. "Are you going to play with us?" Lily's innocent inquiry hung in the air, shifting the atmosphere entirely. Steve felt his heart swell. How could he walk through this door and not dive deeper into what was unfolding? As both Sarah and Steve exchanged hesitant glances, they realized they were on the brink of something new, something that could change everything. With the doors of vulnerability creaking open, they stood at the threshold of uncharted territory. What would this new journey look like? Would they embrace the discomfort that came with raw honesty? Would they discover that open hearts could find a way to heal wounds and strengthen bonds? As laughter continued to pour from inside, the question loomed larger than ever. Could they both manage to face their fears and step into the light together? Lily's eyes sparkled with excitement as she tugged at Sarah's shirt. "Can he play with us?" she asked, bouncing slightly on the balls of her feet. It was such a simple request, yet it held the promise of a brighter moment amidst the heaviness that had settled in the house. Sarah glanced at Steve, whose expression was a blend of surprise and a deep-seated yearning to be part of something bigger. She felt her chest tighten with uncertainty. Could he handle what came with being in their lives? Or would he see the cracks in their story and turn away? Sure, if you want to, Steve," she said, her voice caught between hope and hesitation. "I'd love to," he replied, the warmth of genuine enthusiasm lighting up his features. He stepped inside, the smell of dinner still lingering in the air. There was something grounding about it, something that made him feel like he belonged. As they settled around the coffee table, the game was quickly set up. Lily explained the rules with such passion that both adults couldn't help but lean in closer, their worries slowly melting away. Laughter erupted as they stumbled through the instructions, Sarah misplacing her game piece, Steve over-exaggerating every move he made. "Gotta watch out for those sneaky moves," Lily exclaimed, her delight infectious. Sarah felt the tension in her shoulders ease as she watched her daughter's unfiltered joy. For Steve, it was his first taste of true connection in a long time. Each chuckle, each playful argument over rules, these small interactions filled an empty space inside him. He realized he missed this more than he thought. Coming home to laughter was worth more than all the hollow engagements he had experienced lately. As the game went on, the atmosphere shifted. The three of them began to share bits of their lives. Sarah spoke of Lily's love for art and how they couldn't make it through a week without a new creation. She felt lighter revealing these treasures, unearthing parts of herself she had nearly tucked away. "Did I mention I can draw?" Steve said, stretching back in his chair. "Maybe someday I could show you my terrible stick figures." "You're not that bad," Lily said with an exaggerated seriousness, her brows furrowing. "But we have to practice together. I'll teach you the right way." In that moment, a beautiful, authentic connection formed. It wasn't just a game they were playing, it was a path leading toward understanding and support. Sarah's heart swelled with gratitude as she witnessed the bond blooming between Steve and Lily. Yet, despite the laughter, shadows lingered in Sarah's heart. She knew that happiness was often fleeting. Could this moment truly last? As the game reached its climax, she felt a familiar fear crawling back in. What if Steve's interest waned? What if he got to know them better and chose to walk away? Okay. The game's winding down, Steve chuckled, nudging Lily's piece ahead with purpose. "Should we let the real winner claim this next turn?" Lily clapped her hands. "Yes. The princess wins." Sarah felt a renewed energy coursing through her. The laughter felt like a breath of fresh air. Maybe they could navigate this together. Maybe they could turn their unsteady pasts into something solid. "Hey, why don't we keep this going? Maybe make it a weekly thing?" Steve proposed, glancing from Sarah to Lily. "Yes. Lily exclaimed, her joy infectious again. Sarah hesitated for a heartbeat. Could she take that leap? But Steve's hopeful gaze sent warmth through her, a silent promise that maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something new. She nodded slowly. I think that would be really nice, she said, fighting back tears of recognition and yearning. As the game concluded with cheers and playful debates over the final scores, her heart fluttered, a fragile but firm belief blossomed. They could become a family of sorts, stitching together their broken pieces into something resilient. But just as she felt hope ignite within her, Lily asked the unexpected question that knotted Sarah's stomach with fear. Steve, are you going to be our dad? The room fell silent, the weight of that question heavy and palpable. Sarah's heart raced. She hadn't prepared for this. What would Steve say? As they all paused to reflect on the gravity of that inquiry, the direction of their newfound connection hung in the air, full of uncertainty and possibility. What would Steve answer? Would he embrace the challenge, or would this moment reveal the distance they couldn't yet cross? The silence settled like a thick fog in the room, wrapping around them with a weight that felt unbearable. Sarah's heart thudded loudly in her chest, a chaotic drumbeat of worry and hope. She searched Steve's face for a sign of what was to come, but his expression was a mixture of surprise and something deeper, a hint of fear, perhaps. Oh wow, he finally managed to say, running a hand through his hair, his eyes darting between Lily and Sarah. That's a big question. Lily, blissfully unaware of the tension she had created, tilted her head, eyes wide with innocence. I need a dad to go on my adventures, she said, her excitement bubbling. And you're fun, Steve. We could have a whole treasure hunt. Right, Mommy? The pitch of her voice seemed to echo in the stillness. Sarah's breath caught, and a knot formed in her throat. She loved how quickly Lily could shift the atmosphere, but this was no ordinary moment. Sarah's gaze didn't leave Steve's, seeking any sign, any clue about what he might say next. Lily, he began, but he faltered, the words tangled in his throat. How could he respond? Did he want to guard his heart or open it to a world he had barely started to understand? I mean, that's a huge responsibility, he added, his voice softening. Being a dad it's a serious job, and I don't want to let anyone down. You two deserve someone who can be that for you. Lily's face fell slightly, her excitement dimming just enough for Sarah to see how fragile this moment truly was. But you're fun, Steve. And you're nice. I want you to be my dad. That single sentence, so simple, yet so profound, pierced through the fog that enveloped Sarah's heart. Lily's words held all the hope of childhood wrapped in pure honesty. Could Steve, with all his uncertainties, truly step into such a role? Sarah felt a mix of fear and hope dance in her heart. Lily, Sarah said gently, kneeling beside her daughter. Let us give Steve some time to think about it. We don't want to rush him. But I want him to be our family. Lily's voice was insistent, her little hands curled into fists of determination. Steve's eyes softened at the sight. There was something about her fierce little spirit that warmed him. He didn't want to disappoint her, but the leap from being a friend to being a father felt like a chasm too wide to cross. Maybe we could start with the practice family? He suggested, his voice wavering but lined with curiosity. I wouldn't claim the title yet, but I can promise to be around and help where I can. How about that? Lily's face lit up, the glimmer of hope as bright as the sun breaking through clouds. Yes, a practice family. She jumped up, her laughter ringing like a chime in the air, shedding away the weight they had all been holding. Sarah watched Steve, a cautious smile spreading across her lips. He was right. This wasn't about rushing into labels. This was about building a connection, laying down the bricks of companionship, and seeing where that led them. But as much as Sarah wanted to feel the warmth of hope, a thread of doubt still clung to her. Was Steve really ready for this? Would he stay once the initial thrill wore off? Can we have cake now? Lily chirped, breaking through Sarah's worried thoughts. Cake sounds great, Steve agreed, relief washing over him. They stood to make their way to the kitchen, the tension easing just a little. Laughter spilled as they began discussing flavors, and Sarah felt a flicker of warmth surge back into her heart. Yet, as they gathered ingredients, she couldn't shake that sense of impending uncertainty. The question lingered like a shadow. Would they truly become a family in time? The mixing bowl clattered against the counter as a sudden silence fell upon them. Lily's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm, but Sarah caught a glimpse of something key in Steve's gaze, a hesitance, a fear that he, too, might not fully understand what he was stepping into. Before she could voice those concerns, the doorbell rang, slicing through the moment. Each of them froze, exchanging glances filled with silent questions. Who could that be? Sarah's heart raced at the unknown visitor. Was it a good sign or a bad omen? With a deep breath, she moved to answer the door, unaware that this moment would pull another thread in their fragile tapestry of hope, weaving unexpected twists into their burgeoning journey. What awaited them just beyond the threshold? Taking a steadying breath, Sarah opened the door, her heart thumping against her ribcage. She was ready for anything: a neighbor, a delivery, or something more ominous. When the door swung wide, it revealed a familiar face. Janet, her old friend from high school, stood there, an easy smile spreading across her features. Sarah, wow, it's been ages. The tension momentarily lifted, and Sarah couldn't help but smile back. Janet, what a surprise. Come in. She stepped aside, welcoming her friend into the small world of their kitchen. Lily bounded over, sensing something exciting. Aunt Janet, she squealed, wrapping her arms around Janet's waist. Janet, kneeling down, returned the hug with gusto. Hey there, little adventure seeker, Janet replied, her eyes sparkling with warmth. But as they settled into casual conversation, Sarah quickly realized that the excitement was short-lived. Steve was still there, standing awkwardly with his hands stuffed in his pockets, the lightness of the moment weighing heavy on his shoulders. After the initial flurry of hellos, Janet turned to Steve, curiosity reflected in her gaze. And you must be? I didn't know you were part of the family. Are you the fun one? Lily grinned widely. He's going to be my practice dad. We're going to have treasure hunts. Janet's brows raised, the surprise evident, but her smile remained intact. That's a big role. So, you're up for a little adventure, huh? Steve chuckled nervously, the sound awkwardly filling the space. I'm just trying to figure it all out, he admitted. As they chatted, Sarah found herself holding back a mixture of pride and fear. Janet was a moving force, always able to light up any gathering, but Sarah could sense the undercurrents of doubt swirling around Steve. She could tell he was hesitant about her friend's teasing, which made her wonder if he really could embrace this new path. Suddenly, the laughter faded when Janet's phone chimed. She glanced down, frowning slightly. Sorry, guys, I need to take this, she said, stepping away into the living room. As soon as she was out of earshot, Sarah took a step closer to Steve. You don't have to do this if it feels too much, she said quietly, gauging his reaction. Steve's eyes flickered with uncertainty, but then he steadied himself. No, I want to. I really do. It's just a lot to navigate. I'm scared I'll mess it all up. Sarah felt a swell of compassion for him. She reached out, resting a hand on his arm. That's okay. It's scary for all of us. But it doesn't mean we can't try. Try, huh? He said, a small smile tugging at his lips. Practice, family, I can handle that. Lily burst into the room, tugging at Janet's arm, eager for their attention. Can we make the cake now? She called, bouncing with excitement. Absolutely, Janet said, glancing at Steve. You in for a little baking adventure? The tone shifted again as Lily launched into her imaginary cake-making plan, details flying fast and furious. Sarah caught the glint in Steve's eyes, a hint of enthusiasm breaking through his earlier trepidation. But just then, the phone rang again, a sharp and sudden intrusion into their fluff-filled moment. This time, it was Janet who rushed to answer. Her face grew drawn, a flash of concern crossing her features. Sarah could feel that familiar knot tightening in her stomach. Guys, Janet called back, her voice steady but strained. "I might need to take this outside." As she stepped away, Sarah looked at Steve, trying to understand the impact this was having on him. The warmth from their earlier conversation faded, leaving behind the uncertainty that had been lingering beneath their easy banter. "Everything okay?" Sarah whispered. "I don't know," he replied, his gaze slipping toward the door Janet had just walked through. "What if it's bad news?" Suddenly, they were back in the fog of doubt, the laughter from just moments ago now seeming like a distant memory. Sarah could feel the air thicken with unspoken fears. They were on the edge of something precious, yet so vulnerable. Would this journey be worth it? Before she could answer her own question, Janet burst back through the door, a storm cloud brewing behind her calm expression. "You guys, there's something I need to tell you. It's about my family, and it might change everything." Hearing those words sent Sarah's heart racing, anticipation and dread swirling together. What could it possibly mean for them now? Janet stood in the doorway, the weight of her words hanging heavily in the kitchen air. Sarah read the worry etched on her friend's brow, feeling a sudden chill seep into the warmth of their gathering. "What do you mean, change everything?" Sarah asked, her voice barely a whisper, all too aware of Lily's wide eyes glancing back and forth between the adults. Janet swallowed hard. "My family, they've been going through some things. My sister, Jenna, she's not well. And it affects everything. There's a chance I might have to step in." "What does that mean for you?" Steve asked, his demeanor shifting from nervous to genuinely concerned. Janet inhaled deeply, her composure faltering for a moment. "She has 2 kids. If anything happens, I may have to take them in." The room went silent. Sarah's heart raced as she processed the implications, her mind racing back to the fun, carefree moments they had just shared. Her instinct was to reach out, to comfort Janet, but the reality of the situation loomed large. Lily, sensing the change in atmosphere, took a step closer to Janet, her innocent expression filling the room with a hint of hope. "But you'll still come to cake making, right?" In that moment, Sarah felt a surge of emotions: fear for Janet, love for her friend, and an overwhelming desire for everything to be okay. "I hope so, sweet pea," Janet said, forcing a smile, but it barely brushed the surface. I need to see how things unfold first." Steve watched Janet closely, empathy evident in his eyes. "That's a lot to take on, Janet. Have you talked to your family about it?" With a shake of her head, Janet spoke softly. "It's complicated. Jenna and we've had our issues. I don't want to add to her stress." Sarah felt her chest tighten. She wanted to offer a solution or a plan, but sometimes the heart needed to simply listen and understand. "Do you want us to help?" she asked, and the sincerity in her voice seemed to bridge the weight of the moment. "I mean, if you need to handle anything at all, we're here to back you up." "Really? That would mean a lot," Janet replied, her voice cracking slightly. "I didn't expect all this when I decided to come by today." "Don't worry about that," Steve chimed in. "We're your team now. We'll figure out how to do this together." Lily, still hugging Janet, looked up with all the innocence of her age. "We can be the best treasure-hunting adventurers and the helpers, too." A genuine chuckle escaped Janet. "You're right, kiddo. We can do all of that." Sarah's heart warmed a bit. In the midst of chaos, Lily's innocence reminded them all of the connection binding them together. But beneath the surface, an uneasy feeling swirled. Things were changing, and no one could tell how deep the currents ran. The atmosphere lightened just a fraction. Yet doubt hung in the corners, and uncertainty still lingered. They were standing on the brink of life's unpredictable tide. "If things get more complicated, we need to be ready," Sarah said thoughtfully, glancing at each of them. "We may have to band together more strongly than ever." Janet nodded, her expression somber yet grateful. "You're right. I just want to be there for Jenna and the kids, but it's tough." The conversation unfolded slowly, mingling fears with ideas of support, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a storm they were about to weather together. And as they sat in the kitchen, the small world they had created shifted beneath them once more. "What's the first thing we should do?" Lily asked eagerly, a touch of her childhood spirit breaking the tension. As Janet and Sarah exchanged determined glances, something clicked, igniting a path ahead. "Let us make that cake," Janet said. "We'll need it to fuel us for whatever comes next." As they began gathering the ingredients, Sarah felt a sense of purpose rise within her. They would face whatever storm came, and they would be there for one another. But just as they began their new adventure, another phone call buzzed on Janet's phone, drawing her attention. "I should get this." Hearing the urgency in her friend's tone made Sarah's heart drop again. "Is it about your sister?" she asked, the tension returning like a flickering shadow. Tension danced in the air as Janet hesitated, glancing at her phone. "It might be the news I've been dreading." The words hung ominously between them, overshadowing the kitchen filled with possibilities. And in that crucial moment, they knew they were on the cusp of something life-altering. What would the next call reveal? Janet's finger hovered over the screen, the room silent except for the soft buzz of anticipation that filled the air like static. Sarah felt her chest tighten again, a heavy weight pressing down as she fought the urge to reach out and grasp Janet's hand. The fear of what might come next was palpable. "Just a second," Janet finally whispered, her voice trembling as she swiped to answer.
"Janet?"
Came a familiar voice on the other end, shaky but determined. It was Jenna. "Hey," Janet's voice barely broke through the thick tension. "Listen, I don't have much time. I need to tell you something about the kids." Jenna rushed. The anxiety in her sister's voice made Sarah's heart ache for both of them. "They're okay?" Janet asked, her grip on the phone tightening. "No, not really. I haven't handled things well. I can't get them ready for the changes." Jenna's voice broke, and Sarah could hear the sobs lurking just beneath her words. "You'll need to come. I can't do this alone." Janet's eyes widened, a mix of fear and determination flashing in them. "What do you mean? What is happening?" There was a long pause. Sarah could see the color draining from Janet's cheeks, the reality of Jen's situation crashing down around her like a tidal wave. "I'm not sure how much longer I can keep this up. They need you." January. The sound of Jenna's tears sent a jolt through the room. Janet's face crumpled as she listened, the usually strong woman looking suddenly fragile. It was impossible for Sarah not to feel the aching connection between the two sisters, a bond fraying under the weight of illness and responsibility. Okay, I'm coming. Just hold on, all right?" Janet's voice cracked as she choked back her own emotions. "I'll be there as soon as I can." When the call ended, Janet lowered her phone, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. The energy shifted. It was as if a storm had been unleashed, and they could all feel it. "What did she say?" Steve asked, his voice steady, but laced with unease. Janet took a moment, gathering herself.
"Jenna needs me.
She can't handle it alone." Lily, still lingering close to Janet's side, sensed the tension and looked back and forth between them, her innocence fading. "What about cake?" she asked, her small voice cutting through the heaviness. "We'll make the cake later, sweetheart," Sarah said gently, stepping closer to reassure them all. "Right now, Janet needs our support." Steve nodded, shifting into action mode. "We can help you get everything sorted. Just tell us what you need." "I don't even know what I need," Janet admitted, the tears finally spilling down her cheeks. Catching her gaze, Sarah felt a burst of resolve. "You're not alone in this. We can figure it out together, every step of the way." Janet took a deep breath, leaning into her friends for strength. "Thank you. I just wish it didn't have to be this way." As they gathered around, forming a protective circle, the world outside faded. For a fleeting moment, unity wrapped around them, offering warmth against a chilling storm. "We'll get through this." "We always do," Sarah said, her voice rising with conviction. "You have us, Janet. Always." But even as those words settled, a flicker of doubt nestled quietly in Sarah's heart. Would they truly have the strength to take on this challenge? And what if the storm proved too fierce this time? Just then, another buzz vibrated through the silence. Janet's phone lit up again, drawing all eyes to it. "Is it Jenna again?" Sarah asked, feeling a lump rise in her throat. "No," Janet murmured, her face paling once more. It's the doctor in that moment. They all realized that the next wave was about to crash down, bringing with it a tidal surge of questions and fears no one was prepared to face. What awaited them on the other side of that call? Janet hesitated, her breath hitching in her throat. The ringing sound of the phone became the only thing grounding them in that charged moment. She glanced at her friends, their faces reflecting a mixture of concern and readiness, a silent ask for her to take the plunge. With a shaky hand, she answered. "Hello? Janet." The doctor's voice came through, smooth but serious. "I'm glad you were able to answer. I have some concerning updates regarding Jenna's condition." Every word from the doctor felt like a tightening grip on Janet's chest. The heaviness descended like fog, obscuring everything. What do you mean?" she stammered, needing to hold on to hope. "There are complications," the doctor continued. "We may need to make some adjustments to her treatment plan. I suggest you come in as soon as possible. It's crucial we discuss this together." The room spun. Sarah instinctively reached out, anchoring Janet with her presence. "I'll drive you," she said, determination igniting in her voice. "Wait, what's wrong with her?" Steve interjected, his protective instincts kicking in. Janet's eyes glazed over with tears. "I don't know. I just don't know." The words tumbled from her lips, a mix of panic and despair. "I'll call Jenna," Sarah said, her voice firm as she took charge. "We need to hear from her directly." "Is Jenna okay? I just talked to her." She sounded. Janet trailed off, unable to finish the thought as fear gripped her insides. "She sounded scared, January. Which is why we need to stay calm too," Sarah assured her, while she dialed Jenna's number. The phone rang, echoing the uncertainty hanging in the air. With every ring, the tension escalated like a drumbeat. "Come on, pick up," Janet muttered, her chest pounding. Finally, after an eternity, Jenna's voice came through, softer now. "Hello? Jen." Sarah's voice took on a level of urgency. "We need to know what's happening. Janet's on the line, and we just got a call from your doctor." There was an agonizing pause. "Please tell me that you're both okay." Jenna's voice trembled, the strength that had marked their earlier conversation now wavering. "We're worried about you," Janet said, her heart aching. "The doctor mentioned complications. What's really going on?" Jenna took a breath, letting it out slowly, as if weighing each word. I didn't want to worry you.
They found something in my tests.
Something that could change everything for the kids." Janet felt the world shift beneath her. "Change what?" "Jen, you can't just leave it like that. It's serious, January. I try to hold it together for them, but it's getting harder. I'm scared, and I need you to be strong for them when I can't." Tears spilled down Janet's cheeks freely now. "You don't have to do it alone. I'm coming. Promise you'll help them understand? I can't bear the thought of them knowing what is happening." Jenna's voice broke, the weight of the world crashing down on both of them. "Of course, we will," Janet choked out. "You're not going to face this alone either. We'll fight this together, I promise." As the call ended, silence enveloped them, thick with the gravity of both sisters' emotions intertwining. "I can't believe this is happening," Steve murmured, casting a worried glance at them both. "Let us go," Sarah urged, taking Janet's hand. "You need to be with her. We'll figure the rest out on the way." Janet nodded, her heart a chaotic mix of dread and determination. As they stepped into the uncertain night, one thought kept echoing in her mind. How could she possibly unravel this tangled mess and find hope when it felt so far away? But all she could focus on was reaching her sister. What would they discover together at the doctor's office, and could they uncover any light in this darkness? Underneath the fluorescent lights of the hospital, a chill ran through Janet as she stepped into the waiting area. Each heartbeat drummed louder in her ears, a reminder of the weight she carried for her sister and her children. Sarah stood beside her, a pillar of strength, while Steve lingered just behind, a shadow of support. "Do you think she'll be okay?" Lily's soft, innocent voice cut through the heavy silence, wrapping the fear in a layer of warmth. The little girl's eyes darted between the adults, seeking reassurance that felt impossible to provide. "She will be," Janet asserted, though doubt lingered in her heart. "We just have to be brave for her." Lily nodded, determination shining in her eyes, the kind of spirit only a child could muster amidst such darkness. It fueled Janet, igniting a flicker of hope within her. As they waited, time drifted slowly. Conversations faded into buzzing white noise. Each minute felt heavy, laden with uncertainty. Finally, the nurse called Jenna's name, shattering the stillness. Each of them felt their breath hitch. Janet's resolve wavered for just a moment before she straightened her shoulders, grabbing hold of her little girl's hand. "Let us go," she said, her voice steady, but her heart raced beneath the facade. They followed the nurse through sterile corridors, passing rooms where families shared joy and sorrow alike. The buzz of wheels on linoleum felt echoingly loud, punctuating the silence hanging over them as they reached Jenna's room, the door half closed. With a shared glance that spoke volumes, Janet pushed the door open. Inside, the soft morning light illuminated Jenna's pale face, and relief wove through her as she caught sight of her sister. Janet, her voice was barely above a whisper, but it held a world of emotions. "I'm here, Jen," Janet replied, her voice breaking slightly. Sitting beside Jenna's bed, Janet wrapped her hand around her sister's, grounding them both. "You're not alone anymore." Jenna looked between Lily and Steve, her eyes pooling with unspoken fears. "You brought help," she said, her voice trailing off. "They're family, all of us." "We'll face this together," Janet affirmed, her grip tightening as reassurance surged through her. Steve moved closer, offering a comforting smile. "Whatever you need, we're here for you." Tears glistened in Jenna's eyes, a mixture of gratitude and despair. "I shouldn't have waited this long. I've been so scared," she admitted, vulnerability painting every word. "None of this is easy," Janet responded softly, her heart aching for the weight Jenna had carried alone. "But we'll find our way through this, one step at a time." They spent the next few hours in an intimate circle, listening while the doctor explained Jenna's condition in clear and simple terms, outlining a treatment plan etched with both challenges and glimmers of hope. "Remember, we're in this as a team," Sarah said, her comfort blanket wrapping around all of them. "It's normal for things to feel scary, but leaning on each other will get us through." Lily, her small hands clasped as she listened intently, piped up with an earnestness that pulled at everyone's hearts. "And I can draw pictures to cheer us up. We can be like superheroes." Everyone smiled, the weight of despair lifting just a fraction with the childlike hope that radiated from Lily. Days turned into weeks as they settled into a new rhythm. Janet, buoyed by the unwavering support of her makeshift family, leaned on them as treatments unfolded. Each visit to the hospital meant new fears, but laughter returned too during cake-making sessions, pirate treasure hunts, and Lily's endless artistic endeavors that spilled over every paper surface. In the evenings, Steve found himself closer to Sarah than he had imagined possible. Slowly, they began to intertwine their lives in deeper ways that transformed both their hearts. He became more than just a friend. He was a source of support both to Janet and to the brave little girl relying heavily on the adults around her. One evening, as the sunset tinged the sky with hues of pink and orange, Sarah pulled Steve aside after a particularly raucous game night that had left everyone in stitches. "I just wanted to say thank you." Steve's expression softened, a light flickering in his eyes. "For what?" "For being here. For understanding. The kindness you've shown inspects everything our family needs," she said, her vulnerability shining through. "Yeah, I get it," he replied, his voice low and earnest. "It's good to be part of something again. And I'm not going anywhere." The sincerity in his gaze ignited a sense of warmth in Sarah, as though all the fears that had once crept into her heart were slowly being pushed out by the light of his presence. Meanwhile, as the path ahead stretched before them, challenges remained. Each day brought new trials, fresh hurdles, but the support Janet received from those around her helped bridge those gaps. Together they faced uncertainty, binding their stories into a tapestry woven with strength, hope, and unconditional love. One Thursday evening, following a successful Dr. S checkup, Janet gathered Lily and Steve, announcing with glistening eyes, "Mommy S on the mend. We're going to be just fine." Lily jumped up and down, exclaiming, "We're all superheroes." Laughter burgeoned throughout the room. Faced with life's obstacles, they found grace, courage, and above all, family. This time, when Lily looked up at Steve and proclaimed, "You're our practice dad," it felt like an embrace stretching straight from her heart to his, sealing their bond even deeper. As the sun dipped low, illuminating their lives in warm golden light, everything felt right. "Now let us bake that cake," Janet said, her heart full. Emails and phone calls that had once represented fear transformed into connections of love. They had become a family built on understanding, laughter, and the most definitive truth of all, a shared path toward healing. And just like that, with laughter echoing in their home, hope took root, proving time and time again that in the face of adversity, love finds a way. As the memories of struggle faded into the background, so too did fear. Embracing the newness of life, they walked towards a horizon ripe with possibilities. In this light, they had learned that even in the hardest moments, in the midst of darkness, light could always find a way to shine through. And with hearts full, they realized they could weather anything together. Now, what is your next step? You need to subscribe now so you don't miss out on these transformative stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm so we can keep these stories coming. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your engagement matters.